everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Living the Sweet Life. I'm your host, TJ Sweet. And on this podcast, we're going to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. We're going to help you do that by reshaping your mindset, helping you live with intention, and learn how to look at the world through a grateful lens. We're going to talk a little bit more about the lens of which you see the world here in just a minute. But first, before we get into the episode this week, I want to say thank you for tuning in like you always do every week. I see the numbers continue to grow as all of you are sharing these episodes and more of you are listening. I appreciate you. It inspires me to grow and get better. Our team appreciates all of your time and commitment. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button now so you get notifications every Monday. As you already know, it's Mindset Monday. We'll win the day so we can win the week, so we can be our best throughout the week instead of just wishing it were Friday all week long. So this week I want to talk about something that has become probably one of the most powerful tools, powerful practices that I have in my life, because as we can all probably stop and think, life has gone by pretty quick. As we think about, what day of what month it is, what day it is, we think, what happened to the year already? Wasn't it just January? But the thing is, the reason why it feels like that is we haven't slowed down enough to really stop and reflect on the day, on the week, on the month, and maybe even on the year. Now, typically, when it comes to self-reflection, we talk about it more during the new year. We talk about it more as you're starting to set goals. What went well during the previous year, and what do you need to do differently this year? And then I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. So this week, we're going to spend a lot more time talking about the power of learning from your past and learning from past choices you make and decisions you made and headspaces you were in and habits you were committed to. But really, once you start to learn from those choices you were making, it really helps you kind of build your future with intention. Now, granted, this isn't a perfect future because we're learning how, not learning what. All right, so we're learning how to apply these things in our lives, not learning what worked, because what worked last year may not work this year. But if we never reflect, we'll never know that it didn't work last year or last moment or yesterday or 20 minutes ago. So this week, I want to spend a lot of time talking about the power of reflection. It's going to take a moment for you to slow down and think about this. And as you learn from your past, you start to build that future, but it starts with regular self-reflection. Regular is in the sense of you commit to it. Maybe you just start with committing at the end of every day. This is actually how I started this journey, was a journal called the 5-Minute Journal. If you haven't read it, if you haven't done it, go do it. It's a fantastic start to a journal. It's what inspired similar things with the book that I created called Practice Gratitude, Find Joy. I published that book back in 2019. But this idea of constant self-reflection, and reflection can be in the moment, but it's also more looking back. Review your past experiences. Review the day. What went well? What could you have done differently? And what lessons did you learn? Because what you will start to see when you commit to self-reflection, more days actually just start to feel more meaningful. You start to recognize when you reflect what things you've learned and what things you want to apply to the next day. So instead of 30 days going by and you don't even really realize what's happened, when you start to really reflect, and yes, some of this is going to be writing it down, you kind of start to really think about life moment by moment, day by day. But then you can stop and look at all the different ways that you've grown because you've reflected. Now, granted, this great analogy, right? So the rearview mirror is a lot smaller than the windshield. But the important thing to think about is we still have the rearview mirror. Look for where you've been so that you go where you want to go with intention. This is going to take some discipline. It's going to take some purpose to actually pause and review, think about, write down, reflect on your past experiences. Because when you do that, you're going to find some insights about maybe some of the things that you're proud of, maybe some things that you want to work on, but also the thing that you're going to see the most when you self-reflect is how much you've grown. And once we understand that we're on a growing journey, the idea of progress feels energy giving instead of this idea of being perfect, which is energy taking. Now, how do we do this? So I'm going to kind of pour into a couple things that I do consistently that have helped me with self-reflection. So you choose what works best for you. But again, don't do these things just because you think you should. Do these things because you're actually willing to sit and pause and be patient. I was reading a study the other day where somebody asked people to sit in a room, and we've talked about it on this podcast before, but it's just that moment of how comfortable are you being in a room with just you, with just your thoughts, not music, not social media, not TV in the background, just silence. When's the last time you sat in a room, in a chair for 10 minutes with just silence? Now, a lot of people, that would cause some panic, right? Right now, some of you are thinking, oh, absolutely not. That is not happening. But if you can't even be in your own company for 10 minutes without being externally stimulated, it's going to challenge whether or not you can ever actually start to learn and grow and accept yourself and be yourself more for the people that you get to have in your life. But our relationship with ourselves has a direct relationship or direct impact on the people that we have in our lives, and the way that we treat them, the way we treat other people is how we typically feel about ourselves. There's multiple layers to that. But as you stop in this introspection and this reflection, right? Some of it can be journaling, like I've already talked about the 5-minute journal. But even the idea of meditation, to where you actually have to stop and just breathe, the impact it can have on our bodies and our brains and our hearts and everything about our physiology, because it's so different than what we normally give ourselves. It can transform your headspace, the actual dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin that gets released when you do these things. The reason why it's so powerful is because we're always seeking this dopamine rush of approval, of gratification, of recognition, of other people seeing us, all these things. But we don't balance it well enough with actually recognizing ourselves. So that's what journaling and meditation actually does for you. But there's other things that you can do. You know, I have a self-assessment. If you go to my website, tjsweet.net, there's a self-assessment there for you to really stop and look at your whole life. Different categories, not everything. We don't try to improve everything at once, but we also understand that when we try to reflect on one area of our lives and we try to make a change, it's probably going to impact another area. But this reflection of where are you in every area of your life? Where do you want to be? Like really want to be, not where you think you should be, but where do you want to be? Because those two moments of reflecting and projecting, that gap, the gap between knowing better and doing better is purpose, and the gap between looking back and looking forward, the energy that you have in the middle, is based on your desire and your commitment to actually own the things that you want. And if you don't want it, even if other people think you should, then don't. Don't fall into the trap of wanting what other people want for you. You want what you want for you, but if you don't slow down enough to really recognize, what do you actually want? Not what you wanted 5 years ago, not what other people think you should want, but what do you want? Because that'll help you make choices towards the life that you want to be living. You don't have to live somebody else's life. Other people are going to give you their own opinions about what you should be doing with your life, but you get to be in charge of the choices that you make in your life. And you can start taking some of these steps today. You can reflect back on the weekend, because you're probably listening on Monday. Even if you're listening on Wednesday, you can still reflect from the day before. But once you really start to look at your past, not as the anchor holding you back, but maybe more just the wisdom so that you know where to point your sail. You know how to set the sail because of your past. Maybe it's the wind, maybe the past and the things that have hurt, the things you've healed from, maybe those become the wind in your sail because you're not letting them hold you back anymore. You're actually using those things to propel you forward, but it only happened because you looked back, you reflected to see why you're making the choices you're making. What are the things you need to heal from so that you don't have to, regret choices that you've made? Or what are some things you need to heal from so that those things become a strength instead of a weakness? It starts with a choice. It starts with first of all, the ownership of knowing what you deserve and the value that you have and the value that you bring to other people in your life. So as you stop and reflect and think about who you are and where you want to be, just know that space in the middle is a curiosity. It's rooted in vulnerability. It's rooted in resilience and gratitude. There's so much in being grateful along the way. Reflect back. There are a lot of things in my life that have hurt me. Some things that I've done and some things that other people have done. But I look back now at my past in reflection with gratitude, because I wouldn't be the person that I am today speaking to you the way that I'm speaking to you if the things didn't happen in my life. And that's just how I view everything. It's not that I don't take ownership of the choices I'm making, but I don't hold myself hostage to those choices. And I don't let my past hold me back. I use my past instead of letting my past use me. Again, the past is something that has happened, and you get to choose whether or not it still is happening. The power that it has is up to you. You can self-reflect and then decide enough is enough, or I'm going to do that more because it's more of who I am and what I want to be doing in my life. You always have that choice. So today, I want to challenge you. I want you to sit and dedicate 15 minutes if you can, 5 minutes if that stresses you out, and really reflect on a challenging past experience, or sit and reflect on something you haven't quite healed from yet, because you can and you will. Journal, like as you reflect, journal on some of these things of what you've learned about that experience or about what you need to heal from, and identify one step, not all the steps, one step that you can take to actually start applying some of the things that you've learned, or how do you move past so that your past doesn't become your future. And that starts with a choice that you make today. I appreciate you tuning into this episode. I hope you take a moment today to reflect on choices you're making, choices you've made, and then also project the life that you want to be living and how you want to be feeling in that life. You deserve it. You have to believe it first. Understand that your past isn't your future unless you make it that way. I appreciate you listening. Share this episode with some people, because I know the past is something that is heavy for a lot of people, but we can help each other learn. We can help each other grow and move beyond it, and have the past be powerful to where we start taking action in our lives instead of powerful to where it holds us back. We all get that choice. Hit that subscribe button like you do every week, so that I know that more people are listening, more people are moving past their past, more people are reflecting and actually trying to give themselves a chance to live the life they want to be living. Because that's what I'm passionate about, is helping you live the life that you want to be living, no matter what has happened, because of what could happen. I'll remind you like I do, and we'll finish up this episode with the same reminder. You always have the power and the choice to reshape your mindset, live with intention, and look at the world through a grateful lens. Until that next episode, never stop.